So the beginning of my path was in my institution in the United States. They hosted a panel, and in that panel they had a bunch of administrators, faculty members, staff members that had already done a Fulbright. So that panel really inspired me to apply for a Fulbright. I was listening to those conversations. People were speaking about their experiences, their projects, and really the passion with which they were speaking inspired me to apply for a Fulbright. So that was the beginning of my path. And then everything just pretty much fell into place. As you said, I was born in Bulgaria and I was raised in Bulgaria. Left the country when I was 18 to pursue my higher education in the United States. And one of my fields of expertise and study is demonology and specifically vampire studies. I'm really interested in Slavic vampires, one of the oldest vampire figures in the world. We can trace the beginning to pretty much the 9th century. So having that scholarly interest and also being able to speak Bulgarian, write Bulgarian, read Bulgarian, and having a deep knowledge of the culture, everything just clicked, and it was, everything just fell into place, and it was just meant to be. So to begin with, I have a combined teaching research grant. So there's two pieces to my stay in Bulgaria. One piece is the research piece and the other one's the teaching piece. So one of my host institutions, the University of Library Studies and Information Technologies, that's really the institution that I'm working with on the teaching piece. Also, I'm doing a lot of public lectures and talks open to the community with that institution. And my other institution is the Folklore Institute with the Bulgarian Academy of Sciences, and this is really my host institution for my research piece of the project. So with the research piece of the project, as I said, I'm focusing on the Bulgarian folkloric vampire, so I'm doing a lot of research on that. The most fascinating piece has been using archival documents and digging into a bunch of folders and reading people's accounts, folk tales, fairy tales, legends, proverbs, curses that have to do with vampires, and hopefully the end goal, as I envision the end goal at this point, at the end of the 5th month, there's going to be a digital interactive bilingual map of Bulgaria, and on that map I'm going to put all of the different places from which I found primary accounts and primary sources that relate to the Bulgarian folkloric vampire. So let's say, there's a specific village X. When people click on that village on the map, they're going to be able to see the type of resource. So let's say, it's a folk tale, or it's a folk song, or it's a fairy tale. They're going to be able to see the place where that information came from, whether it's an archival folder or a book, page information. So they're going to be able to go and find that source. And that's going to be available in both Bulgarian and English, along with an overarching kind of summative description of the Bulgarian folkloric vampire, and also some regional differences that I've seen while doing my research project. So that's the research piece of that. And then the teaching piece, I have taught some classes on folklore, fairy tales. I've also done a number of public lectures and presentations. The last one I'm doing is coming up this Monday. It's going to be at the University of Library Studies and Information Technologies. It's also going to be available in a virtual format. The one on Monday is going to focus on mermaids from all over the world. And then the last one I did focused on an Indian version of the Cinderella tale, and I've done one on American campus lore. So all of these lectures are touching on different pieces of what I know, what I teach, what I'm interested in. So both the research piece and the teaching piece I've really enjoyed. There's been a lot of interest. The first public presentation I did, the room was packed. People had to bring in at least 20 extra chairs, and we still had people standing up in the room. And with the virtual format, last time we had over 30 people online. This has been one of my favorite pieces of the whole thing, because the mission of the Fulbright's really all about cultural exchange. So I'm really grateful that I've been able to learn so much from my own country and from the scholars in the country and the archives in the country, but I'm also grateful that I've been able to give back to my country and show a Western perspective on folklore, fairy tales, speak about a new genre such as American campus lore, which doesn't really exist in Bulgaria. So that cultural exchange piece has been going really well. from what I have seen, like from years of doing research on vampires and vampire-like beings from all over the world, one of the common traits that I've seen has been all of those beings have been described as demonic, bad, malevolent, threatening, evil, someone that's gonna suck the life energy out of the victim. But I had never seen a description of a good, helpful vampire. So I went into this Fulbright research with the same assumption. This is what I'm going to see in Bulgarian folklore as well. And reading some of my initial sources, I was reading Vakarailsky, Marinov, Irichik, and this is exactly what they were saying. However, at some point, I got to a book by Professor Troeva Grigorova, and she did a comprehensive study of the Rodopi mountain region based on a lot of field work that she had conducted, materials that she had collected and analyzed. So she, of course, had that piece where the vampire is described as malevolent, bad, evil, but also she had a piece where she was speaking about beliefs that have to do with the vampire as very benevolent and very helpful and very good. And I was like, what? Like, this cannot be. And then I started reading the accounts that she was giving based on her field work. So she had a bunch of stories about people that have passed away under unnatural or unfortunate circumstances. And then they go back to their family, they go back to the house, but they don't go back as that vicious force that wants to hurt people or harm people or strangle them or just make a bunch of frightening noises. They go back to help, and they usually help with a bunch of household chores. They help with milking the cows, they help with chopping wood, they help with making food, they help with loading the donkeys in the morning. So that was really interesting, and again, like based on years of research, as far as I know, I haven't seen any other accounts of vampires good or helpful or benevolent. So I feel like this is a really important piece of our culture and folklore that we should not ignore and forget, and this is giving us a special, specific, and unique place on the global cultural map of vampire studies. I think professionally, it's been working with the archival materials. That's been one of the pieces that I've enjoyed the most, and just digging through the folders, and even though the folders are dusty and some of the tables of contents are missing, and sometimes I'm reading dialects that almost seem like a different language, this is really one of the pieces that I've enjoyed the most. And the reason I think why I've enjoyed this piece so much is pretty much everything that I do, from my teaching to my work as an administrator or advisor, has to do with storytelling. The focus of my research is really storytelling. So, you know, a lot of the people that have told those stories that live in those dusty folders in the archives are already gone. So if we just leave those stories in the dusty folders in the archives and we don't read them, we don't tell them, we're letting a big piece of our cultural heritage and cultural tradition pass away with those people, and this is really sad, and this is a shame. So from a professional standpoint, I feel like that's been the most rewarding one, and the personal one's definitely been just being able to see my own country from a different perspective and a different angle. I left when I was 18, and I've spent 19 years in the United States, so more than half of my life I've spent in a different country. And I'm going to be completely honest, when I was leaving when I was 18, going to museums and speaking about cultural traditions and rituals was not my number one. So now coming back to the country 19 years later, when I have a different focus and I have a different field of expertise and I have a different goal, I've been doing all of the things that I didn't do when I was 18. I went to a bunch of places that I had never been to, such as the National Historical Museum, the Ethnographic Museum, the Archaeological Museum, and just rediscovering my country as an adult with a specific focus. That's given me a lot more appreciation for the deep culture and history of Bulgaria, and it's made it even more special in my heart. So I am currently working on a number of publications. I've submitted some of them to journals. I'm waiting to hear back. Some of them I'm still getting ready for submission. Also, at this point, I've been contacted by a publishing company in the United States, and they're really interested in publishing a book that's going to focus on my Fulbright research, the Bulgarian folkloric vampire. So I have to start working on my manuscript proposal at some point soon. I have to do that. Also, for sure, I'm going to use this information when I'm teaching my classes in the spring of 26. I'm going to be teaching a 300 level honors class on the global vampire, so I'm going to be using this information in the class. Hopefully, I'm going to get more students involved in my research as well as I'm expanding and refining the map. And I'm really hoping that I'm going to keep those wonderful collaborations with my colleagues from both of my host institutions going in the future. We're going to be able to work on joint projects, maybe have joint publications, hopefully have some type of an exchange program where they're going to be able to visit me. So yeah, definitely. My first piece of advice will be, if you're thinking about applying, do it. Apply. I know one of my biggest fears when I started working, well, even when I started thinking about potentially applying for a Fulbright, was I'm going to get rejected. I'm going to get a no. I'm not going to get it. And I know for people in academia, usually those people are hardworking, overachieving, really intelligent people. So even the possibility of getting a no and being rejected is frightening and horrifying. And it seems like a death sentence in a way. But the way I approached, and I had those fears as well. The way I approached it was, if I never even try, I'm never gonna get a yes. If I try, I might get a no, and that's okay. But if I don't try, it's a definite no, like I'm not gonna get it. So the other thing I would say is focus more on the process of applying rather than the end result. The process of applying for a Fulbright is really rewarding in terms of a bunch of transferable skills that people get from that process. Writing a Fulbright application is the equivalent of writing a grant proposal. So you're getting the skills of writing a grant proposal. You're also taking a much deeper dive into your own self, thinking about, who am I? What am I doing? Why am I doing it? And what's my end goal or destination 5 years from now, 10 years from now? And really, the Fulbright application is this perfect unity between an individual, a project, and a place. And then putting that into a grant application, that's a skill. First of all, being able to elaborate on why you, why now, why this country, why this project, in a very cohesive and clear way. That's an amazing skill that anyone that does it's going to walk away with, and that's going to be truly valuable in a lot of different ways. And the other thing, Bulgaria is awesome and amazing, and I'm not just saying it because this is my home country and birth country. It's a small country, but it's a really beautiful country. Pretty much in 4 hours or even 3 hours, you can be at the beach or at a mountain skiing. People are amazing and friendly and really welcoming and really warm. Bulgarian food's been recognized as one of the best types of food all over the world, and people enjoy Bulgarian food so much. And the other thing is, we have one of the best commissions. The Bulgarian Fulbright Commission has been so welcoming and so friendly and so helpful and so patient, and people have really been a family. So, you know, we all go, even coming from someone who's born in this country, going back to the country 19 years after I left the country, it's like going to a new country and a new culture in a way. And without the support of the Fulbright Commission, it would have been much more challenging. So you're going to an amazing country with an amazing, supportive, very knowledgeable commission. And again, even going through the process is so worth it. So just do it, give it a shot.